And welcome everybody. Good evening to the official Valence League channel. Today we're going to be taking you through a best of three series in Division 3B between Full Mental Jackets and TBD. My name is Rudude, and joining me on the caster desk tonight, I could not be more excited to be joined by none other than Middlecott.
Hello everybody. Yeah, I'm here. Going to be doing some color casting in the first game. Excited for that alongside yourself, Rudude, and really excited to get back into casting because I think it's been like a month or so since I've commentated over a League of Legends game, so really excited to get into this.
Yes, as am I now, to set some sort of expectations maybe for you guys at home. TBD, unfortunately, 1 and 2 so far this split in the Valence League 3B. But Full Mental Jackets, they've played 2 games, they've won 2 games, they're looking very strong out of the gates here, but of course we don't quite know how strong that strength of schedule is going to have been so early on, and I think so early on in the season it's still safe to say that anything could happen.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to emphasize. Whilst Full Mental Jackets are at the top of the table, there's not really too much separating these teams, at least on paper. So whilst FMJ are definitely going into this game as the favourites, to be decided could cause an upset here, which maybe wouldn't be as unexpected as you would possibly think.
No, and I think that a large part of that will probably how well we see these drafts out. And I know that in these lower level leagues that drafts don't tend to mean as much. And when I say drafting matters, I mean, do you go for comfort or do we see people opt more toward hard meta develop? Because for me, I know that comfort in this level can mean so much more.
Yeah, I think you were cutting out a little bit there, but I think that actually raises a point that draft can actually be very important because that constant dichotomy, that battle between comfort and meta is something that at this level can be really pivotal, especially when you start talking about ease of executions of different drafts and compositions. There are some styles of play, particularly split push, particularly poke based compositions, which require a lot of setup and a lot of high-level macro play to pilot efficiently, whereas something like a dive composition or just a big teamfight wombo comp can be a little bit easier to execute because the shot calling doesn't necessarily need to be as high level. So will be very interesting to see how that pans out once we do eventually get into the draft phase.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long before we're heading to that one, but again, we have still got that are looking to make their stand. Obviously, is a league, a split, a season, a division, if we want to call it, with 6 teams in it. So actually halfway through nearly this first round to see who will be taking bacon, really, putting themselves into a good spot. It begins to actually become very important. All of these games are picked up here because obviously going in, you want to be the best seeded as possible. Currently, Full Mental Jackets are there. They're currently top of the leaderboard. Nobody else so far in this division has gone unbeaten. And I think that that's something that, well, obviously, to be decided are going to be trying to change. But the Full Mental Jackets, they've got that little bit of pressure on their shoulders as well, that they have to keep that streak going.
Yeah, being first isn't necessarily the most comfortable place to be. I know a lot of football managers have had differing opinions on the pressure that being at the top of the table can put on you, but it looks like we've got all of the players into the lobby now. They're just sorting themselves out into role order, and we should be jumping into that champion select very soon.
Once we get on, we're certainly going to be excited to get this one off and underway. The R's are coming through and making sure that everybody's all good, ready to go. And to see whether or not Full Metal Jackets can hold on to that. This is a best of 3, so they're allowed 1 free pass, I suppose, here in the game. They're allowed to give up 1 game, so then anything else, and then move into the rest of the series and hopefully pick themselves up a couple of wins. So that's certainly something that we should be looking to see if they go for either a 2-0 or to a little bit of a 2-1 standing. But we're sat here, we're in the lobby, looking at these ranks overall, though, Middlecott. We have obviously got them up on ahead of us here in the lobby.
Yeah.
Fairly even teams, you have to say, across the board.
Well, and I think that's one of the benefits of having the point system here in VL. You can have a little bit of disparity within a team, but ultimately matching off against each other, there is a lot of parity. So we're talking, I think this is around about mid-level gold average for both of these sides. But of course, you do have those higher level, those Platts players on both sides that can potentially swing the game with that little bit of extra skill. Going to be the True Senpu on the blue side, and then the Fluffy Nerd on the red. Both support players, though, which I think is a role which can actually be very heavily influenced, or could influence the game very heavily once you start to get a little bit more info in your head about how to move around the map, especially roam timings, which we could see these players come out with here.
Yeah, and as an AD carry player here, you are preaching to the choir that support is an impactful role. The amount of times that I will quite incorrectly blame my support and say support gap move on in my own solo queue games definitely probably outweighs what it should do. But I know firsthand how important support can be, and I'm looking to see if that carries through into this game. And certainly for Senpu, for Fluffy Nerd, we're looking to see that impact from the get-go, see if there is any sort of roam presence out of these guys, if there is any sort of jungle pairings that we get to see with them to make their movements around the map and make sure that they're getting on into this game nice and swiftly. Obviously, we had a little bit of a technical delay there, guys, so we did have to take ourselves a little bit of a stall before we got into the draft, but we should be ready to go in just a couple seconds.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to be jumping through just now as Mr. Wilder will be starting off the draft. We are finally into Champion Select Route, dude.
Alright, that's it, guys. We did the pre-game. We're going to call off the stream right now because that was it. Thank you very much for coming out. We'll be calling that stream right here. Of course, we're kidding. We've got to be decided on the blue side, full mental jackets on your red side for the first game. And initially out the gates here, the OPGG scouting has gone well. Rengar going to be the first ban of the game.
Yeah, it's definitely not a meta-focused ban. Definitely trying to take that away from a specific member of the red side team. Obviously, sees a little bit of play in the jungle, but I think he's actually most strong as a top laner. Can be so oppressive in the early levels. Same sort of OPGG scouting, Katarina taken off the board. True Senpu is not playing support. They will be the mid laner, but they won't have access to that pick.
So a little bit of snowball power then mitigated. Obviously, certainly what Katarina looks to accomplish. And I like the deviation in style of bans here, because we've got Rengar on one side, a champion that loves to get aggressive, dive into the backline, and then Ashe as well, one of those more stable backline AD carries. Can be a little bit of a utility bot if she gets put behind with her slows, with her ulti, for example, and the recent nerf coming to her laning phase, making her even a little bit worse. But these bans, they're coming through thick and fast right here, with Ashe hitting the table, Soraka on one side as well. With the Galio taken out, that is everything that TBD have got to throw at FMJ, and now we get to see what they finally respond with on their last ban.
Yeah, and I do like these Galio and Ashe bans coming out immediately, because these champions offer some of the most reliable engage in the game. And the thing is, they're high utility, but utility often translates into damage. If you can lock someone down, if you can keep them where your team wants them, then you can land a couple more auto attacks. And that's a little bit of the thinking behind this Seraphine pick. While she doesn't provide a lot of damage herself, she sort of acts in the opposite direction, with the heals, with the shields and the speed up, as well as that Encore ultimate. There's a lot of utility potential already from this first pick.
So looking to see how well Vito, well, not necessarily yourself, but how well TBD can use this Seraphine. We've got hard CC on one side, it's countered by hard CC on the other. Now we're in 11-19 now. This Amumu, it could not be a jungler.
Yeah, so Amumu is a little bit ridiculous in support right now because of the changes to his Bandage Tosh, I believe the ability is called, where you could essentially have two charges of that, which means you can get a disgusting CC chain, especially once you hit level 6. You Q, wait for the stun, you ult, wait for the stun, you Q again, and that is a good sort of 4.5 seconds of CC that the enemy really can't deal with. The Olaf lock-in's a little bit interesting for Gank by Dad here, because it's not a pick that we really see traditionally very powerful in the meta, and picking it this early means you can get set up for a competition which can sort of kite you away and just continually disengage, meaning that the Olaf can't really do anything. Or you can lock him in the middle of the Cataclysm with a Jarvan, and he can't really do a damn thing.
Yeah, I love this counter pick from TBD. This is just the classic age-old Olaf counter. You can't CC him, so what do? You build terrain. Anivia, another great example of a champion that can do this and that counters Olaf because of it. Building out that Cataclysm is going to be very, very useful, and certainly something that TBD will need to look to utilise here, because they've built themselves up a fairly squishy backline already here with Ezreal, with Seraphine, who, granted, do still have a lot of AoE damage to go with that Cataclysm, but certainly don't want to be in melee range of this Olaf.
Oh, absolutely not. And that's why I quite like the Ziggs here, because you could start to deal with the range a little bit more. It's very difficult to get kited on this pick, and it also offers you a lot more wave clear and some tower destruction tools that the blue side don't really have right now. They're going to be wanting to look to play these fights a little bit slower with the Seraphine, but then the Jarvan sort of throws that a little bit askew. In the second phase of bans, I'm expecting to see these top laners removed, as hasn't really been focused yet by either teams, and securing yourself a priority matchup in top lane means that you can play so much more easily around the Rift Herald, which I think is such a ridiculously strong objective in the meta.
Yeah, we see a lot of teams focusing up on that top side for that exact reason, and I'd be interested to see whether this is where FMJ just flip the script and say, hey, you're wasting top lane bans right now, send that Olaf into a solo lane, throw us back a few seasons, and let's just see how scrappy we can really get in these early stages. Of course, pure speculation, pure conjecture at the minute to see where these bans are going and where the picks as well are going, with two traditional quote-quote jungle picks already picked up by FMJ. We really are seeing the power of red side flexing, and certainly going to be interested to see where this Ziggs ends up. We're expecting it bot lane, but that doesn't mean that it can't still go mid lane.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of flexibility. The Sivir would sort of resolve these picks a little more, which would imply there is going to be Ziggs heading into the mid lane. Still could be that Olaf top and Mumu in the jungle, but I would expect that they are saving their top lane counter pick for last, given that they banned the Aatrox away. And they've gone for the Sivir and the Ziggs, which are not amazing champions at really winning lanes, but they've got a lot of safe wave clear, which means that you can stall out games for an absolute age. Now, the Lee Sin picked up here is actually going to be the Anivia instead, so sort of matching the wave clear. But it doesn't really allow you to get on top of these long-range champions. But the Camille, she can do exactly that.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were looking to here, to round out that composition. Looking toward this Sivir, toward this Ziggs on the backline. You can already see how the team fights are going to be looked to played out. They've got that mid-range mage who's going to be able to use a lot of... Oh, okay. I'm going to hold it, because that is a Jax lock-in, and that is a big counter-pick to the Camille.
I mean, it is a big counter pick, but you need to play the matchup correctly. Otherwise, you can just get completely destroyed. You need to make sure that you're not wasting your counter strike on the side of Arjet. Otherwise, V2 yourself can just slice through him, and there isn't really much that the Jax is able to do. So it's going to be really skill-focused and skill-intensive in the top lane. And I think it has to be the focus for both of these teams, because if we look down the map, Anivia Ziggs mid lane, that's just going to be all wave clear. We got Ezreal versus a Sivir in bot. Yes, you've got some engage potential out of those two supports, but because it takes you so long to get level 6 when you are in a duo lane, there's a lot more value in just pressuring topside, getting this Camille or this Jax really far ahead so you can just snowball through the rest of the game.
And I think that draws back to your point earlier about these two higher elo supports or higher elo support players, because Fluffy Nerd has got a lot of roam potential on this Amumu, and we need to see whether that is going to be matched by Solo on the Seraphine. We've talked about how powerful this top side of the map is going to be, and I think that Ziggs as well just goes to add to all of the strength that these teams are going to have, and particularly FMJ, if they look to have some successes up on the top side of the map, that's really where we're going to be seeing that sort of semi-global bomb really become useful.
Yeah, that's another thing that Ziggs offers, and possibly one of the reasons why I think that Anivia has actually sort of been forced out of the meta a little bit, even though she's got very strong wave clear, setup, and damage, doesn't have that global impact, which really makes a champion OP when you start talking about high level and pro play. And it gives a little bit more options for FMJ to play towards that top side, where their own gank potential isn't quite as strong as having something like the Jarvan, but when you are able to bring a little bit more damage, that could still be very good for you. Whilst we are talking a lot about the top lane, I don't want us to ignore this bot lane as much, because even though it should be a little bit quieter, Ezreal and Sivir are both going to have very good ways, if they're ahead, of actually going forward in this lane and being able to pressure out the opponent. So if we have a situation where one of these duos gets a double kill early and the gold goes in the right places, we can see the lane swing very heavily one way or another.
Of course, and as well, whilst we've been talking about the bot laners here, and if they do get their agency, Ezreal notorious for being one of the hardest AD carries to kill, for bruisers, mages, champions alike. So getting that Jax ahead may not be all that you need to do if Fluffy Bunny is able to tear up that bot lane and find some success with the Seraphine at his side. Similarly for the Sivir, the Jokery here himself, going to be looking to use that spell shield to maybe block out the hookshot, block out the Hextech ultimatum, whatever it may be. But you don't have that same safety with a Sivir that you do with an Arcane Shift.
So this is actually a very niche mechanic and one that infuriates a very select group of people. So what happens when Camille actually uses the Hextech ultimatum is it interrupts channels, and the way that's coded is a very short silence. Now, unfortunately for Sivir players, this means that you cannot actually activate your spell shield whilst the Camille is jumping on top of you with a Hextech ultimatum. I think we've seen the interaction in pro play a couple of times, but it does mean that you're a lot less safe if you're Jokery than you maybe want to be, because that interaction can be so punishing. I think if V2 yourself is ever in a position where he could just jump onto the Sivir, something has already gone wrong for FMJ. But just to highlight how the AD carry is even more helpless in that scenario than they would necessarily be otherwise.
And we look across the team for FMJ as well. We're looking at peel sources, and outside of Curse of the Sad Mummy, maybe a well-placed satchel. There's not a whole lot there that allows Jokery to keep himself safe. We've not got a Janna and a Lulu on the team, for example, that would be providing much more safety to Jokery on the bot side of the map. And once we've got the time here, we can, at least see a little bit of the summoner spells taken and the runes and masteries here, and my eye is particularly drawn to Dark Harvest on the Sivir.
Yeah, that would imply it's going a bit more towards a poke-focused build, which I kind of like here. I think it's a little bit risky to go something like that, especially against a Jarvan and a Camille that are going to be able to access you so easily. I feel like there's a decent argument to just bite the bullet, go for the crit build, and accept that they're going to be jumping on you and killing you, and that you should probably try and do as much damage as you can before you do eventually fall down.
Well, that's certainly... it's not going to be the case this time round, unless we see crit lethality or crit Sivir with Dark Harvest, which would be a little bit atypical here. Either way, going to be excited to find out as we finally get ourselves loaded up onto Summoner's Rift for this first game between Full Mental Jackets and To Be Decided, a game that has fairly decent standings implications. If TBD can take the first win, then maybe they can find an upset up against a 0 or a 2-0 team. Or if we see Full Mental Jackets just continue their seemingly dominant streak across Division 3B.
Maybe. Just have to check if we are all paused at 10 seconds.
I can get there very quickly, so do not worry. Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, as am I. We're just waiting on our producer then.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. And we are on to the Rift, like you said, Rude Dude, for the first game of this BO3. I'm excited for it, man.
So am I. We talked a little bit about what this means for the teams. We're going to talk a lot more about how we expect it to all play out. And I'm looking at mostly, as we've already addressed, toward that top side of the map, because we're certainly expecting these guys to have a fairly decent time of it. In terms of being able to fight one another. I'm certainly expecting a scrappy affair more so than anything else. If we see 3 resident sleeper lanes, then I'm going to be a very sad caster.
Yeah, but it looks like V2 yourself doesn't actually want to have an interactive lane, as they have gone for the Cull, which I think is a very strange choice against the Jax. A champion that can fight you fairly strongly, levels 1 through 3, because he's just somehow strong at that point in the game for some particular reason. And it sort of portrays that maybe Mr. Wilder won't be visiting this top lane potentially as much as we would like him to. Does still have options in the mid, obviously with the setup that Anivia offers. But I don't think that's quite the prioritization that you would want if you're a blue side team.
Now, I have two ways of viewing Cull. One of which is, as you've just mentioned, that you want to sit back, scale, and maybe not quite have the same level of priority as something else. The other is that you have a really big ego when you're going into this matchup, and you think, I don't need any stats to beat you. I can take a money generation item and still slap you about in the top lane. Now, which of those it's going to be, we're yet to see, but I hope that it's the latter for sure.
An ego player in Valence League proved it.
How scandalous, I know.
No way indeed. But we did just see a little bit there of what the Jax can do. Pops up the counter strike, and then you can't really auto attack him, which does mitigate a lot of the Camille's damage. Obviously, the way that he uses that early on in laning phase isn't going to be as impactful as how it's used a bit later on. We could see an engage here with level 2 hit by the Fluffy Nerd and Jokery, but Fluffy Bunny and Sohu paying their respects, just standing back.
Yeah, and as you should be doing as a level 1 to level 2 lane right here, I think that level 2 all-ins are sort of one of the core fundamentals of bot lane that you sort of learn very early on. And interesting to note that we have got that tier start as well for Jokery. Similar sort of strategy to the colours. There's a little bit of a scrap. These to and fro's between the top laners keep on going, and we actually see just a Jarvan up on that top side looking for the flash to be taken, but not quite had right there. As I think that we're in a little bit of an issue, but my directed camera is not showing me the action.
Yeah, the directed camera decided that there wasn't going to be any action, and so there wasn't, which is an entirely reasonable thing to do. This lane isn't in a great state for a return gank because it is going to slowly push back into Arjet, so provided he doesn't overextend, it should be fine. Does mean that the junglers will meet around the top side scuttle, but neither mid laner really seems interested in moving over. Could have a little bit of a skirmish here, though.
Yeah, knockup comes through. Mr. Wilder finds the initial CC, but it's immediately backed away from because Ziggs roamed up first. We've got fights on two fronts here. The bot lane looking to skirmish a little bit, and up on that top side, it does look as though TBD are able to pick themselves up the first crab, and we're going to see GBD move his way down to the bot side to collect the bot lane crab in a little bit of an exchange of scuttlers early on.
Well, we could see Mr. Wilder go for something in the mid lane. It has been pinged. There's no mana on the Ziggs.
Doesn't use the satchel, but uses that flash, so nicely done. Recognises that I have to flash this, fearful of the chain CC, but now that's in a mobile mid lane and needs to be very careful with how he's using his mana and satchel alike. Yeah,
it does still have the TP though, so isn't going to be forced to stay in this lane any more than he would like to. He's got one get out of jail free card left, but like you said, if another visit is paid to the mid lane by Mr. Wild, it could be going very bad for Bambina. This isn't actually the best early game so far for the Jarvan. He's behind on CS right now to GBD, whose second respawn of his bot side camps are starting to come through. So we should start to see the Olaf get a little bit further ahead in terms of the XP. And with the big CS lead that his bot lane has generated as well, I'd say this game is actually going fairly well for the red side.
Definitely at present, this wave as well. It looked a little bit scary for blue side, but fortunately enough, TBD been able to either neutralize it or force the FMJ squad to make that push happen, but it's not without its own response once again here. Mr. Wilder is trying to make his presence felt down on this bot side with yet another attempted gank coming through. It's going to be a slow play though for it to work.
Yeah, this wave isn't in a great spot for red side, though. It is pushing away from them, so they are going to be forced to step up. As Arjet is stepping up in the top side, there's no one else around to help him in the trade. And with red side actually taking a back on the bot lane here, this is more wasted time for Mr. Wilder, so GBD can continue to build out this farm advantage. Currently 3 camps ahead. He's going to be able to get that recall in and should start cycling through them even further. So this Olaf is going to continue to build the lead in the early game.
And that's exactly what Olaf looks to do. One of my sort of fundamentals, I suppose, of Olaf is he getting dragons? I think that is his sort of tried and true identity for me, at the very least, that he's got such early game strength that he can take fights with pretty much anyone, picks himself up 90% of Drakes that are in the early game of his game. So GBD in a good enough position to maybe start looking toward that, is already looking to start cycling through his second set of buffs. He's not even based yet, just to show you quite how far, so not ahead he can be, but how much farm he's been able to collect right now. Big wave up on this top side, could well end up being a dive attempt for Argit, and the counter strike goes up, looks for it, not quite going to find it, but the flash forced, hook shot comes through, flash flag and drag knocks him up, and the Warhop away doesn't quite find it. First blood goes over to Mr. Wilder.
Oh, that feels so bad if you're Argent. You were stacking the wave, you were pushing in. If you just play a little bit further back, you don't go for the dive, you just take the reset instead, then you're wasting more time for Mr. Wilder. But as it stands, he's able to get that gank off in the top side. So whilst he's falling behind on CS, True Senpu taking away that Scuttle Crab, he's getting kills, he's getting availability on the map, which is what the Jarvan needs to be doing.
Oh, okay, a little bit of a stun up on that top side, but it doesn't amount to anything else. Could well have been the end there of yourself, as Dancing with Death, the Grasp of the Undying, does a little bit of work to keep yourself alive, but he has got TP. Please, just go back to base.
Yeah, and that's why taking that tower shot was so bad for Argit there, because he was winning the trade out, but now he's going to be forced to base again. So V2 yourself could just TP here and get to the wave access for free. The Jax can't stay around, so this is going to be forced back into his face. And all of a sudden, in the past minute or so, this top lane's gone from a position of fairly good strength for the red side team to somewhere where they could start to bleed out a little.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to be, in no small part, to Mr. Wilder finding a successful gank finally in his attempts around Summoner's Rift. Had been into pretty much all of the lanes by this point now, and making a fair statement. So only down by 3 camps, it sort of neutralizes that farm lead that GBD was able to amass for himself. Now if we look at the minimap, 4 members of each side down on the bot side of the map looking for this dragon. The engage going to come through. Remember, you can't ulti out of the Cataclysm, but Ragnarok forced. Oh, nice dodge there as Fluffy Bunny goes far too far forward, gets taken down, and now the fight should be swung for full mental jackets. Fluffy Nerd looking to try and find something else, but it looks as though it might just be the one for nothing.
Mr. Wilder's on the wrong side of the map right now. Low health bars, especially on the jungler for the red team, so we'll be able to get out of this one. But it was a good response coming out, which means that the Drake can't go over to the enemy team.
And that's ultimately what the Olaf was looking to achieve. We talked about it time and time again, that the Olaf looking to get those Drakes, and being stopped from that happening is certainly going to put a bit of a dent into GBD's plans. It's not been taken, though, by to be decided, and you know that's certainly something that is a bit of a saving grace, I suppose, more so than anything else, as they look to try and close out this early game status and maybe try and pick themselves up that dragon after all.
Yeah, I think that's what they've got to be looking towards. It's been a fairly slow game, actually, which has surprised me a little bit. I feel like there were definitely tools in both these compositions to get early things going. But FMJ have been pretty good at dodging away from Mr. Wilder's ganks, and GBD hasn't really been as active on the map as I would have liked to see him. I think it's all about what happens in the next couple of minutes. If you're able to get this Drake or potentially this Rift Herald, gives you the opportunity to find a decent fight or get a couple of tower plates, and that can really start to snowball the game in your favour.
Yeah, and currently the snowball at the very least doesn't appear to have happened much for either side. So a fairly even gold game right now, certainly not where we start calling out who's going to start winning this game indefinitely. Still very much up in the air, and it is where these neutral objectives start to have a bit more of an impact. We can see that GBD taking the Drake down on the bot side, whilst Mr. Wilder's taking the Herald up on the top side. So call me crazy here, Middlecop, but a bit of a high macro trade.
A little bit. I feel like it'd have to favour TBD purely because this Cloud Drake shouldn't be too impactful unless Soa gets caught out, forced to flash away. It's a very big summoner on the Seraphine that doesn't really have any mobility spells of her own. But, like we were saying, securing the Rift Herald for TBD can be very big, especially if you put it towards this top lane.
Ooh.
Get a couple more plates onto yourself, who's actually been looking fine with that cold pickup. This is a little bit of an overextension, though.
Yeah, invading into the Raptors and falling for it. Similarly on the top side, Arjit going to be looking for his own solo bolo. Flash to safety, tactical sweep for a slow. There we go, the final leap strike takes him down. Arjit finds the solo kill.
I tell you what, like being in those situations where you're running away on run HP, can you make it out? No, not quite. Camille does fall down, but a kill went in trade onto this Olaf in the bot side, so still 2 apiece in terms of kills. Mr. Wilder still sat on that Rift Herald, and there isn't really a good place to put it as of yet, as bot lane fighting.
Yeah, big flank from the support right there. It's a trade of support ultimates, but nothing just yet. There's that second bandage toss, though. Fluffy Bunny taking it incredibly low, stepping up for the boomerang, and he gets it just on the backside. A mystic shot from downtown manages to take out Jokery here, and my oh my, the turn back, Mr. Wilder has made his presence felt once again.
Definitely, and this is so big because the bot lane was one of the real places that FMJ were actually getting a significant advantage. Jokery was up 15 CS or so, but now Mr. Fluffy Bunny has got a couple of kills under his belt, got that Sheen and the Phage, building towards that, the tier is stacking up with the Ionian boots as well. Ezreal's in a pretty strong place, and the sooner he gets towards that 2-item core of the Divine Sunderer and the Mirror Mana, he's going to become incredibly powerful.
And we'll have to wait and see, obviously, how powerful this Ezreal becomes, because 2 kills so far starts him off well, but it's not everything here in this game, as Arjit as well taking a nice fight here up against the Camille, who claps back a little bit as well. Slight item advantage over to yourself on the top side of the map, but once again, finding a little bit of a successful trade and then backing away. I like to see that we've got some very early plated steel caps as well from Arjit, recognising, hey, Jarvan and Camille, it's a pretty lethal 2v2.
It's a lethal 2v2, but you've got to be careful once you start getting into the mid game and you're having to deal with Seraphine Charms and the CC Anivia can provide, though no CC onto the Olaf, but he does pop the ult, but he will not quite go down there.
Wilder almost falls in sacrifice as well, as Bambina forced to flash over the wall. A lot of summoner spells, a lot of ultimates traded, but ultimately no kills go over. Everybody limps away. I don't want to call it safely, but they get out.
Yeah, you're alive. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
And, well, we're seeing this continuation of no flash in the mid lane because True Senpu has been able to find a nice chunk as Arjit once again dashing under the turret. But we're seeing this Anivia now start to really force the issue in the mid lane, and that's certainly something that might end up being fairly consequential here to Bambina, who has the TP back up again. And going back.
But they're going to be TPing back into a Herald. There's a good chance that they die here. It's the stun landing onto them, but it's just going to be a couple of plays. There is actually a collapse here.
2-man counter-strike comes through, double bomb as well to follow. True Senpu flashes out to safety. The Glacial Storm down means that Arjit can't follow too easily. A bouncing bomb from downtown puts the egg Nivea on the map. And maybe going to find something jokery here for the Boomerang Blade, and gets it! The final explosive minefield charge gets one. Sowo's caught out, though, in his own jungle. Fluffy Nerd and GBD roaming to take down another kill.
I tell you what, I feel like that was just TBD twice in different parts of the map, not respecting the damage that FMJ can do. They greeded to try and get a little bit more damage onto that mid lane tower with the Herald. Yes, they were able to get 4 plates over, but it still stands. And whilst the gold advantage is still in favour of TBD, losing out on tempo plays like that, dying fairly needlessly twice, definitely not a good sign as we transition towards the mid game.
Yeah, and Arjit as well, able to teleport right back up to that top lane and make sure that he doesn't miss out on all that much. Puts yourself in a position where he can't find that much of an advantage, and even now may be able to take first brick for himself despite the Herald efforts in the mid lane. Despite all that TBD focus their priority on, they will result in Arjit finding himself that turret up on the top side as well.
Yeah, and that's absolutely huge for this matchup because the Jax needs to be ahead in order to fight up against the Camille. We see them going for the 1v1 here.
The counter-strike not quite finding a stun just yet. Hookshot as well goes wide, and Arjit down in items at this point. Doesn't want to be fighting up against Divine Sunderer and should be paying that respect. Now, neither top laner actually around for this dragon that's about to start ensuing, but TP available for yourself.
Yeah, this is very risky if FMJ choose to start this one up. They're looking in the area, but Mr. Wilder is looking too. Base has come out from Arjit, but you really just want to get out of here. You do not win this.
Looking for an engage now. Wilder doesn't quite pull the trigger. There goes the two-man curse of the Sad Mummy. And that's a double kill for the bomb as well. There's that interaction you were talking about. Middlecott Jokery finds himself just barely able to get away, just taken down on the last second as GBD looking to stand tall right now. It's a 2 versus 2 for the time being. Top laner yet to arrive. Arjit looking to make his presence felt. And it looks like FMJ have done the hard work right now with a 2 for 3 in the fight. They should be able to take this dragon.
Yeah, but the issue is they're going to be able to pick up their second Drake, but they're trading it for their mid tower. Whilst this does put them towards that soul point, and if it's an Infernal that ticks over, they're going to be very happy. But with the Mountain Drake coming up, I actually feel like getting that mid lane tower down, being able to push your vision a little bit higher, actually favours TBD overall.
And they may be looking to collapse right here. You talked about the extended vision that you can get, but True Senpu is unfortunately not where he needs to be. Bandage toss comes through, Arjit nearby. Very good wall, but second bandage toss is going to make all the difference. Arjit picks up the kill. Amumu rework 101.
Yeah, that feels pretty badly. Now, you don't want to be betting this if your TBD. Mr. Wilder is a little bit too far out. They have got a little catch on to Arjit, who is forced to burn the flash.
Yourself goes in, though, a little bit disjointed from the rest of the team. True Shot Barrage tags up onto 3 members. Looks like that's about it for now. Second Herald now on the board, and that's where our teams have drawn their attention to. Now, Senpu does have teleport up and available when he respawns in just a few seconds' time. But that should be enough, actually. It looks like it's going to be enough to signal FMJ away to give TBD their priority around the Herald and maybe start to take this one for themselves. With ultis now starting to come back up, though, you feel like FMJ might look for a contest regardless.
Oh, it absolutely will. This is a very slow game up until around about the 30-minute mark, but ever since then, both teams have just been at it. The Fluffy Nerd doesn't hit with the bandage toss and could be caught out here.
Hits with the second, though. 3-man curse of the Sad Mummy. The bomb this time a little delayed to come over the top. Wilder finds the first kill of this fight. Argent, though, in the backline, trying to tear through the backline of TBD. Takes down one, looking for a second here. Can't quite find yourself before he's slain. But the rest of the team is here now. Here comes Jokery. Here comes Bambina. Flashing forward, finding as much as possible. That is everything that they would have ever hoped for. The True Senpu not in the fight, and a big win for FMJ.
Absolutely massive win for FMJ as they take a commanding gold lead. 1,000. They are going to be suffering in that bot lane as True Senpu piles the minion waves into it and picks up gold for themselves. But I would have to say worth for the red side.
Definitely here, getting all of those kills and picking up the Herald as well. Now we have to wait and see where they use it, but the kills alone are going to do them a great service right now. With a 4-0-3 Ziggs in the mid lane, 4-2-5, their gold is in all the right places. We talked about top lane maybe being your priority position. But when you've got these fed carries in your sort of stable traditional carry roles, who are we to blame you?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot of wave clear as well from those traditional carries, which means it's difficult for TBD to actually force onto them. You've got the Jarvan, you've got the Camille. These tools should be excellent at diving towers, but if you're never able to get a wave in there, you can't really do much. And then on top of that, on the side lane, the Jax is currently winning the 1v1 against the Camille, so you can't really pressure from there. I would like to see FMJ try and take this bot lane tower first of all, just get yourself a little bit more gold. Then, once the Drake is up, around about 2 minutes time, what you do is you put the Herald down 30 seconds before that in the mid lane so you can push that forward, force the enemy team to take a step backwards so they have to walk into you as you're looking to pick up this soul point.
Now, we know that Herald is great at taking turrets. We also know that Ziggs is great at taking turrets. And these two forces combined almost definitely spell disaster for one of the turrets on TBD's side. Now, where that ends up being and when they end up using that still remains to be seen. You've drawn the roadmap for them. Whether or not they listen remains to be seen. Now, Mr. Wilder goes for a knockup, but he's running straight into GBD. And that is not the person that we're hoping to find. Goredrinker buys a little bit of time before Arjit puts himself on a rampage now, looking very convincing in this topside jungle.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world is going to be respawning in time to go towards this Drake, but you don't want to be getting caught out like that. No real reason to be in that part of the map. Arjit going for a 1v1 onto V2 yourself, and I think he just wins this.
It looks like it, though. Good. Hextech Ultimatum dodges over the leap strike damage, hops back out, hookshot comes through, finds the damage, and gets the 1v1 in a scenario that nobody thought he'd be able to win. Comes out on top.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate. Just Arjit taking the tower shot right now. What does this mean, though? Because whilst getting the isolated 1v1 kill is good, it's always going to have further repercussions. That means that there is no Hextech ultimatum when we go looking towards this potential Drake fight. We see the Rift Herald summoned in the mid lane, 30 seconds before the Drake. Very good, guys. This means you can move into the river, start to deny vision, and force TBD to play into you.
I can see your thumbs are already up, just cheering them on with the plays, the macro, just incredibly well played all around right now as they've moved themselves into the river, looking to try and take this fight now. Due to that top lane 1v1, it's a small amount of time where they have a 5 versus 4, and you can see the respect being paid that they're backing out of this one. The Drake are going to get started up right now by the blue side. TBD, they are taking a lot of poke though. Here goes that engage. Flash 3-man root. Lovely stuff from Fluffy Nerd. He finds himself all 3. The dive into the backline though coming through. Not quite found anyone just yet. There goes Jokery. But the fight, it may already be over as 3 members fall once again. Double kill over to Bambina. And this Drake fight, it's gone all sorts of wrong for TBD. FMJ start off the fight as they mean to go on. But the poke, Mr. Fluffy Bunny and True Senpu, they're not happy with this fight being over and done with just yet. Bouncing Bones coming over from Bambina doesn't mean that this one is all over. 4 versus 2, and they're going to pull the Drake out. Unless there's extra pokes to come, this could be the fight over.
Yeah, TP is available for the Anivia and for the Camille, who respawns in 10 seconds. Mr. Fluffy Bunny going in, grabbing himself a kill as Arjit goes back onto him.
Support goes down. Can he find the top laner as well? Remains to be seen. Arjit going to have Leap Strike in just a couple seconds. Gets it! With just a slither of health, the Ezreal doing as much as possible. Mr. Fluffy Bunny falling short at the final instance. But my oh my, Middlecourt, we had a fight right there.
That was an absolute brawl, and I've got to shout out my boy, the Fluffy Nerd. Multiple times in this game, he has landed absolutely massive curse of the Sav Monies. GBD, you're a little bit caught out here, buddy. Does have the flash available, isn't going to opt to use it. And,
No, he's not going to use it, Middlecourt. That's a spectator vote.
That was a spectator vote. But by and large, there's actually some very, very clean team fighting coming through from FMJ. You saw the circles underground from TBD, that Cataclysm and the Glacial Storm combo, trying to do as much damage as they can. But this Anivia, she's only on 1.5 items. This isn't that big level 18 4 items Anivia that just completely tears through your health bar with ease. She's still scaling up, and you can't really be looking to go for these fights if you're TBD. But that's very unfortunate, because in 4 minutes time, you're going to have to go for another one around that Mountain Soul.
Oh, nice. Root comes through. Well buffered hook shot, though. Yourself may well just lift this one. Oh, just the one that goes down first.
Oh, no.
Nice blast cone takes them into the river here. Fluffy Nerd may well get away, but he's going to be very hard pressed to do so. They're not going to chase through the Ziggs. Instead, that turns attention. May well be Baron. He hops over the wall here, and I'm not quite sure what he's looking for over there. Yourself as well, also looking for a bit extra of that Bambino spice. But right now, 1 for nothing. And everybody sort of calms down a little bit. This Baron sort of tempting, tantalizing here, TBD.
Oh, I don't think they're calming down. I think they are just going for it. True Senpu can TP into this play off the recall. It's a momentary 3v5 right now. Baron is not going down too quickly. There is an opportunity for FMJ to contest.
And they look like they're going to peel away. Ziggs is doing just a little too much. This lethality Sivir as well. Those boomerang blades do hurt you, especially in the Baron when there are no minions to create that diminishing returns on the damage. Good luck, good attempt by TBD. Even better respect to say that, hey, we just can't do this right now.
But the thing is, you actually didn't force out anything from FMJ. The only thing that they committed was their time. You committed a TP on an Anivia. So one of those side lane wave clear options isn't going to be available for the next few minutes, especially with this Drake coming up in 2. If the True Senpu is in this top lane when the Drake is on the map, they're not going to be able to do anything to respond to their team, which really sucks, especially considering how close to their spikes they are on this Anivia. Level 14 now, 16 is going to be coming through in a few minutes' time. Got 2 items completed. Yes, it's not amazing. Mr. Wilder might be caught, though.
Flag and Drag, you love the interaction on the hunt popped, but it's not going to be able to find the chase down here. Wilder barely able to get away, but get away he does. True Senpu caught on a Warden. Egg or no egg, they're getting scrambled, and this is going to be a quick little pickup. Not necessarily in time for a Drake, but a kill is still a kill, and GBD going to be happy to collect that one.
Yeah, True Senpu's got a little bit of egg on his face. That's just a case of pushing a little bit too far forward. Argent might be caught out here, though.
Yeah, Counter-Strike putting up some good mitigation right now. The dash through still caught up by that Hextech ultimatum. The minions doing their best, but ultimately Argent going to fall.
That's just a little bit too much damage. A lot committed there from TBD, and whilst they do grab the kill, doesn't really gain them anything massive. They will have the opportunity to put a little bit of vision down around this Drake, but I feel like FMJ are just strong enough that they can walk through, start to clear that out. You do not want to get hit by one of these Bambina bouncing bombs or a boomerang blade from Bokery, because those just hurt so much. And if you're chunked out to half HP on Mr. Fluffy Bunny or True Senpu, I feel like you've got to base, because Sobo can't really heal you up in time to respond.
No, and on top of that, if you get chunked out, that could just be the go button for Argit, for GBD, or even the Fluffy Nerd. He doesn't need a chunk to pull his own trigger to start those engages. Has his flash ready and available, and we've seen that summoner spell be incredibly important. Looks for Wilder, able to take him down into the Guardian Angel. Now, how good is the response? It's a very good wall to buy space, but he flashes right into the end of the Boomerang Blade, and that is going to be no smite in time for Soul.
Okay, but importantly, no Curse of the Sad Mummy. If you play this out slowly on TBD, you've got a chance. You need to be poking with the Ezreal and with the Anivia, and then committing hard when you get an opportunity with the Camille and with the Seraphine Encore. That's going to be up in a few seconds' time. You need to delay this Drake, because if the soul point goes over, if the soul goes over to this, the likes of the Jax, the likes of the Olaf, you are never going to be able to kill them.
Yourself hops into the pit. And that could well be it now. The attempt steals over the wall, don't come to fruition. Smite secured for GBD, and that is going to give them Mountain Soul now in game number 1. 13 to 19 your kills, but our gold still dead even here.
As they might just be looking towards this Baron. GBD is currently on the wrong side of the map to start that up. Are just going to be taking some recalls instead. But it does give them a very strong combat advantage, despite the fact that the gold lead doesn't really exist for either of these teams.
You're quite right. It's a little bit of a weird one, because the general flow of the game just feels like whenever you pick up Soul, you should be in a pretty advantageous position. But right now, that's just not the case. Both of these teams are sat neck and neck in terms of those gold breakpoints, the item breakpoints as well, fairly matched across the board here. Looking at it, only really one discrepancy that you could look to think of, and that's the third completed item for Jokery, where on the other side, Fluffy Bunny has got the components of a Frozen Heart, and whilst that doesn't give him the hard damage, it is going to give him a lot of safety from the likes of Argit, GBD, and Jokery.
Yeah, but it's not going to do much to counter what Bambina wants to do. Talking of itemization, though, the only source of anti-heal currently on TBD is on yourself's Camille. And True Senpu just picks up the Oblivion Orb. Okay, so this is a lot better. You want to be able to spread that Grievous Wounds to multiple members, particularly this Olaf and the Jax, who have both got healing items themselves. But the healing from Runes and Mastery is definitely not insignificant. So a good pickup there, as we'd like to see this from FMJ. They're moving into the river. They're trying to contest Envision. They're trying to contest TBD's positioning.
Let's see if they can manage it, though, because moving into the river and contesting position is a great philosophy. Whether or not you can make it happen remains to be seen now. Of course, FMGA, the ones with the Mountain Soul, can absorb a little bit of Fluffy Bunny's poke and maybe walk their way in with that one. The Baron almost certainly going to be our next objective up on Summoner's Rift that the teams are going to be looking for, because if we spend too long, we could well see ourselves at an Elder Drake, as True Senpu finds a little bit of good damage, but now they're going to look to try and force an engage in the mid lane. Flash forward. Encore doesn't do anything versus an Olaf. He goes through, flashes to safety from Solo, but it's not enough. Bambina takes down the front line as we see GBD take down the back line. And if you manages to find one trade, though, yourself now dashes into the back line. You're in a 1v4 here, buddy. I'm not too sure how well that's going to go for you, but Bambina hits the stasis. Yourself goes down, and now it's a 4 versus 2. The two carries once again standing tall for TBD, but it might not be enough, as they may look to reset this one. With no jungler on the map, Baron seems a little far-fetched, but they've got a big control over the map right now.
Yeah, big control over the map, but it is so crucial that those two carries stay alive. We've already seen the poking and prodding that can occur from this Anivia and the Ezreal in that Drake pit. Ultimately, TBD weren't able to contest the soul, but if you're tanking Baron, getting hit in the face with Bistic shots, and a couple of these flash frosts from the Anivia can really start to chunk up and hurt. And if you're in a situation where you're in the Baron pit, there's not really anywhere to dodge away from a glacial storm. So it's a right call there from FMJ, just backing away, not going any not going too far.
As we reach ourselves into a slight pause right here, make sure that everybody is all good and ready to go before we do get back into this one. Of course, the gold currently slightly favouring now for what feels like the first time in this game over toward FMJ. Now that gold lead is not significant by any means at this late stage. It doesn't showcase a lot of the advantages that go over, and I think that the intangibles really that come from a Mountain Soul are really what we can look to provide the significant advantage over to FMJ right now, because you get a lot of shields obviously with that Mountain Soul, and call me crazy, but I think that an extra 300 health on every single target certainly has a standing and implication here, even if the gold doesn't necessarily showcase that.
No, doesn't matter at all. Every champion in the game just having loads more health and resistances, it doesn't have any impact on what's going on.
Understood. Thank you for the update. I'll resort myself back to my play-by-play brains of saying that these things aren't important now. Thank you.
Well, this is what happens. This is what happens when play-by-play does colour. Like big brain takes that are very intelligent and definitely not wrong. I think those intangibles are important, but we do need to be quite concerned right now for FMJ, because whilst they have definitely done good things, they're still yet to take an inner tower. And as this Anivia and this Ezreal continue to scale up, they will become problems. Yourself as well on this Camille has got a couple of items. We'll be grabbing the third in short order. And whilst they might not favour themselves up against Arjet, if Bambino or Jokery gets locked in that Hextech ultimatum, doesn't matter that they're fed, they're still going to be going down. So whilst we are seeing a very advantageous situation for FMJ, they could definitely overstep and get punished hard.
So aggression, but tempered aggression needs to be observed.
Aggression, yes.
Needs to be observed by FMJ right here to make sure they're not overstepping their bounds. With an Elder Drake spawning in 1 minute and 30 seconds, the Baron feels like it's been left a little bit by the wayside this game. That pressure of a Baron pit, maybe just a little too much. And for both of these teams here, I think that we're seeing firsthand that the wave player is doing a very good job. If you don't have that Baron, closing out these games is going to be very, very difficult. Got a little bit of a death brush attempt here. Looking at that one from TBD, doesn't amount to anything, but it's good to see them looking for these proactive plays.
But the thing about taking the Baron is the map geography doesn't favour the red side right now, because you can get aggressed onto and you're not able to set up more aggressive vision in the enemy jungle, because they are so good at just wave clearing you out. You can never push into right towards the enemy base because they've still got these inner towers up. And this now means that, whoa, we're ahead, we've got the Mountain Soul, but it's 30 seconds until Drake, and we're not getting a look into the river.
And crazily enough, the team with the soul are the ones that aren't able to force their way in just yet. They even have that slight gold lead that we touched on, but currently Yourself is doing a very good job at running anchor on this play. Attempted engage comes through, going to be a slight knock up inside. There we go. Fluffy Ned whiffs on his engage though. Arjet running anchor and making sure that Yourself can't find anything. He just goes straight down in the backline, and that could be all but the fight right now with no top laner to dive on in. Arjet fails his own engage though. On call finds two. Double knock-up comes through from the Cataclysm. Single man Curse of the Sad Mummy. Make sure that the Jarvan falls quickly enough. Arjet is in the backline. He's taken down one side. Fluffy Nerd's looking for the other. And it looks like this one going very FMJ favoured. True Senpu though finds a very good stun. Doesn't find the knock-up. Doesn't find the kill. And that is going to be it there for the fight, Mr. Fluffy Bunny. The last one back alive. He's got one. Can he find three more? Mountain Soul ticking them up, but the Elder's going to be ticking away here.
Yeah, Elder not going down particularly quickly. There's no real DPS options available. Mr. Fluffy Bunny trying to kite us round as well as he could, but his health bar is going down.
Bambina not quite with the most mana. Cleanse comes through. Mr. Fluffy, or the Fluffy Nerd here.
Oh my god.
Finds another one. He is dancing, breaking ankles left, right, and centre.
Has he done enough?
He has. Yourself could well break this fight and make it even here. Don't step too far forward. The true damage comes through. The reckless swing takes him down. Now, Camille to try and finish off this Olaf. As we know, True Shot Barrage not quite available just yet. Yourself fails the flash on the engage here. Looking to try and take down the Fluffy Nerd and should be able to do so. True damage comes through, but there we go. Arjit trying to TP in and Bambina TP's right back out. A little bit of a do-si-do between the two solo laners right there. And somehow, TBD have got control of the Elder.
I tell you what, that was a stunning performance by Mr. Fluffy Bunny. So patient, didn't go in too early, bought exactly as much time as his team needed. And now Arjit, the only representative from FMJ getting a look in at this Elder. Can't contend with the smite of Mr. Wilder, has to go for the play, but will not get it.
Oh, the attempted steal from the Mega Inferno Bomb as well, a little too early. Mr. Wilder able to secure the Elder Dragon, and in an instant here, TBD find themselves with the beneficial buff right now. Gold still dead even between these two teams. Baron still out and on the map, but it's TBD who are going to have the advantage in fighting for the next 2.5 minutes.
I'll tell you what, apparently the Mountain Drake doesn't matter because you can just give up all of the dragons and then you can pick yourself up that Elder Soul. Now, we do need to see TBD use this, start pushing forward, trying to grab some kills, some objectives, because we still have all of the inner towers standing for both of these teams. That should be changing hopefully fairly soon, as we do see the blue side moving towards this Baron pit, starting to clear out some vision. And whilst they've got this Elder buff, there's not really anything that FMJ can do to contest.
Yeah, Elder or not, clearing out minion waves is still something that FMJ are able to do. That's why we see TBD focusing up toward this Baron, but they're yet to pull the trigger on it. We've got yourself farming up in the mid lane, and now they're going to start on this Baron. It's a long whistle down, 36 minutes into the game, 14,000 HP to tear themselves through, but they've got Anivia, and that's going to do more than enough. Mr. Wilder, though, taking his fair share of damage, smites early to get himself a little bit of HP back. That could be crucial for this upcoming fight. How's this one gonna go, please? Don't flip it, don't flip the coin. They still get it, Middlecourt. How? GBD doesn't even go for it. TBD get away with daylight robbery.
Mr. Wilder has got some wild eyes or something, because he uses the smite at 5k and then just goes, you're not gonna come in and try and steal this. And GBD doesn't. This is gonna be Baron over, which makes the wave clear a hell of a lot harder for FMJ. And that extra combat power as well, not often talked about with the Baron buff, but you do get that bonus AP and AD, so the fights are going to be a little bit nicer. Hopefully, finally, 37 minutes into the game, we're going to be seeing an inner tower full.
I wouldn't hold your breath just yet, Middlecourt. I think that this tier 2 may well actually... Oh, it's going to fall. Never mind. You can hold your breath if you want. I'm going to allow it. Don't suffocate, though. That's bad. Now, they're looking to take more, though. Second turret in the mid lane already. Felled the third. Looking to be the next one up on the chopping block. And you can see flash forward with the Encore. Looks for something, return engage. And this is the power of Elder. They could just go for these fights. They can go for these fights. They should be working. Looking to go a little over-aggressive, though. It looks like True Senpu and Fluffy Bunny are still up and kicking. They're your main damage carries right now, and if they're still alive, you could look for this one. Sowo as well will be able to provide the damage as well as the healing over. Arjit looking with the counter-strike goes in. Triple find here, and now he's gone a little too far forward, though. The return damage is just too much, and now with your jacks down, Olaf and Siva left to defend the base, with Fluffy Bunny and True Senpu dashing forward, finding as much damage as they possibly can here. Remember, the power of this wall versus an Olaf really doing everything. Baron's still at their backs. They might look to end.
Oh, I think this might be a little bit over-aggressive, though. I'm not sure if they've actually got the wave with them. I'm not sure if they've got the damage. Joker half-firing onto Sowu and Fluffy Bunny, but GBDB, a little bit caught out here, won't be dropping down. But here comes the reinforcements for the red team. Yeah, they're not going to be able to close this one out just yet.
And there goes the flash, engaged Fluffy Nerd once again, not quite hitting the marker, but wow, a Mega Inferno Bomb almost does all of the hard work. Now they've got to chase through Glacial Storm, though, and there's a TP in from the base. Yourself looking to make a little bit of a difference here as he goes toward Jokery. Gets stunned up on his approach though and forced to flash out to safety. Currently a 5v4 on the map with the respawn timer on Argit just a couple seconds away. Now GBD, how is he living this? Consistently getting away, Drinker all out. This is just an absolute scrap in the base. Here goes Wilder. He's going to try and find a dash forward as well. Not quite yet going to get anything from it. The Elder Drake has won on off. They're relying exclusively on Baron right here. And the Ziggs is doing just enough. Argit pops up the counter-strike and may well go for it himself. Here comes on the hunt now. We're going once again. The wall does enough. And I think, Middlecott, we're going to see a reset.
I hope we do. Because that entire play, which isn't quite done yet, as Argit is flashing forward onto Mr. Wilder, who has to respond with the flash himself. The League Strike comes out, and no one's going to be able to save you from that GA. The Jarvan will go down. But that entire series of plays was because 2 minutes ago, whilst TBD were pushing onto the base, the Elder timed out about a second after the engage.
What?
V2 yourself has got very aggressive here.
He fancies himself in the 1v2, and with that true damage, I'm not sure that I don't favour it, but he doesn't stick on. Jokery buys the space, goes on down, and with 2 dead here, so close to the Elder spawn, yourself's not going to be alive in time. Wilder may well be, but they don't have a diver to go with him.
Yeah, Bull's been dropped a little bit there by TBD. Over-aggression, which is what caught them out in the base and is what has just caught them out here. Importantly, no TP available for the Camille either, so contesting this Elder is incredibly difficult. They need to start pushing forward, try and get some vision down, but they can't do it because of these bush baits being laid by FMJ.
Now, the consistent damage for FMJ in terms of taking down the Elder Drake looks a lot like Argit whacking away onto the Dragon. Now, that may not be the target that you want to be hitting onto your Dragon, but I think that if you're looking to try and take it down in any sort of swift manner, that's who you need, because the Lethality Sivir does great when it comes to poking, doesn't necessarily do the best when it comes to taking these neutral objectives. I almost got to see a bit of the poke firsthand, but they're already in position. This Elder now up for the taking.
Yeah, so I think what TBD are going for here, which I think is greatly intelligent, you hope for a steal from Mr. Wilder a little bit early there with the Cataclysm.
That's true. Encore's going to find another couple as well, but Fluffy Ned is doing a great job zoning away the backline. He may fall for it as consequence.
Well, Jokery
He's kept his backline alive. Jokery steps into the Glacial Storm, doesn't quite go down though, and the Elder Drake goes over. FMJ have got themselves the buff, and now yourself gonna go down. A lovely snipe from the Boomerang Blade, takes down one more bouncing bomb will take down Mr. Fluffy Bunny, but he's not quite able to go down just yet, sustaining himself with the Divine Sunder as best as possible. One more axe will hit, doesn't quite find it, and there we go, the tick comes through. One last instance of damage, it's the Thornmail that kills him. You do hate to see that, but Ezreal falls Mr. Fluffy Bunny down, and with 3 members off the board, surely something's gotta happen now.
Yeah, you'd hope so, but look at the way states. They are all pushing into FMJ. This is something really good that TBD did before they went for that Elder contest. They made sure that all the side lanes and the mid wave was pushed out. So even though you do get the Elder Drake, look how much time you have to spend. Look how much time you've wasted of it. Nearly down by a minute already, and you haven't interacted with the enemy team yet. This is perfect. This is exactly what TBD should be doing. You forced FMJ to use the Elder Drake, doing nothing.
And that is pretty much perfect. With Baron up, we're in a similar state to the one we were in about 5-6 minutes ago, where we're expecting FMJ now to be able to use this Elder Drake as a leverage tool to pick themselves up this Baron. And it looks like that is going to be the case. We can see that the true Senpu is down in the bot lane, with Mr. Fluffy Bunny down in the base. This Baron are going to go over fairly easily, but I think you ask anybody, they're going to be more than happy to trade that. And now yourself, down on the bot side, getting aggressive onto Argit, has the support of True Senpu. And that is a lot of damage coming through. The Baron may well go down, but you're going to trade your top laner for it as well. Argit might try and find a bit of a recompense kill, though. Elder Drake takes down one. Flash Frost takes down the trade, so it's a 1-for-1 overall, with True Senpu still pushing down on the bot side.
Yeah, but again, you're taking someone off the board that could have had this Baron buff, did have this Elder Drake buff. That was your main split pusher if you're FMJ. Now they're not going to be augmented with that additional split pushing tool. The Elder Drake is about to fall away, and it's not been used for any combat purposes as of yet. We'll have to see what the red side are able to do with this Baron buff, because we've had a couple Barons in this game so far, and it's still not over 44 minutes in. TP comes in from Bambina, though. They could be looking to close it here.
We've got 5 seconds left on Elder Drake. It's going to be the exact same once again, but Solo falls inside the timer. Cataclysm locks up the Olaf before flashing out to safety. Glacial Storm is there. Flash over the wall, takes the Amumu into the backline, but not quite able to find the damage just yet. True Senpu walks away with his own flash to bring him out to safety. Elder Dragon now off, but they've broken the base here, Middlecott, and they've got a little bit of time to work with. Looking now to break open the base if at all possible. They've already done the hard work on the Nexus turrets potentially here, as the inhibitor has already fallen. But well, I'm sat with a little bit of a freeze frame on the feed right now.
No way has it done that bug. No!
Middlecott is disaster. League of Legends, why?
Well, so I think this is the Nexus explosion bug where we don't get to see the Nexus explode. So I think TBD have won the game. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see the FMJ. FMJ have won the game. Oh, that's a disappointing end to that game.
That really is. I'm gonna cut the cord and bite the bullet here and see for myself. Let's try and find out. I think FMJ. Well, you know what? It doesn't show you on the post-game screen, so that's on me. We're assuming that FMJ won. I'm hoping that they did. It looked like they were going to win. We're going to take what I call an educated guess here and assume that the team with Baron and a numbers advantage inside the enemy base were able to take the win.
Well, we'd seen that scenario before.
True.
But we didn't see the Nexus blow up, so I would assume that you are correct in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Now, very well played by Full Metal Jackets in the end to pick up that win, but that wasn't without a absolutely colossal matchup between these two teams, and it's just game one. 45 minutes for the first game, and we have potentially 2 more games to go.
Yeah, man, that is that's going to be interesting to see. I don't think either team is going to be particularly happy with how this game went, purely because I think there were a couple of ball drops on both sides. But obviously, being able to pick up the win is going to give you a lot of confidence going into this game too.
And that's certainly going to be the hope here for TBD, trying to reclaim a little bit of vengeance after that Game 1 show. We're going to take ourselves a short break, though, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, game number 2 between TBD and Full Metal Jackets. Don't go anywhere.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the official Valence League coverage of this Div 3B match between FMJ and TBD. My name is Milcott, joined by a very impolite gentleman taking over the colour caster role for this game too. It's Rude Dude. How you doing, man?
You know, I'm doing well. I'm happy to return back to my comfort grounds here on the colour caster role. We've given your voice a time to warm up. And we'll be ready to go here with our more traditional roles assigned coming into this game.
Yes. So the idea is that this is going to be a better cast than the previous one. So, and hopefully we have a little bit of a better game, because whilst I think we both agreed that was a banger, I think whilst FMJ were able to pull out the win, possibly wasn't as clean as they necessarily would have liked.
I think that whenever you give up an Elder and a Baron, you can say that wasn't as clean as you'd like if you still win the game. I think that comes under the umbrella term of not as clean as we might have liked. So for game number 2, at the very least, we'll have to hope and see if they can maybe turn that fortune back around and maybe get themselves either a cleaner win or just actually lose the game when they're supposed to. Because TDD, honestly, they should have won that game. You don't have Baron and Elder and not win a game and not be sad about it.
Well, it turns out that you do. Currently 1-0 down in this series. We are into Champion Select now. Teams have swapped around, so we've got FMJ on the blue side and to be decided on the red. No, other way around. To be decided on the blue
TBD.
side.
No, you were right the first.
Fine. I was right. Okay.
Believe in yourself.
I need to trust myself more. As the bands are are a striking similarity to what we did see come through in game 1. You do see that the Ashe is still available, and it's going to be another Seraphine first pick.
This time around goes over 2 full mental jackets. Now, of course, Seraphine did lose game number 1. But I don't think that was a product of picking Seraphine, so I'm more than happy to see Seraphine locked on in here, be it that it goes to Fluffy Nerd, Jokery, or Bambina. Any of the bot side roles are more than capable of piloting a Seraphine and making it look convincing. We do see a response of Lucian, though, and this could go again into many roles. The flex potential of red side rears its ugly head once again.
Not an ugly head, okay? It's a wonderful and interesting head. Have been seeing him a little bit more in that bot side because of the recent buffs. When he gets buffed by an ally, his passive does a little bit more damage. Kind of disgusting. You usually see him paired up with the Nami, although it could be a Morgana this time around. A champion that's definitely fallen out of favor was OP in the jungle. Maybe going to be going a bit more towards the bot lane now and could appear as a counter to something like the Amumu and the Ashe, which have been locked in.
Yeah, Peter is a counter to everything that FMJ have drafted. With that Black Shield, the ability to mitigate some of that CC is definitely going to be a powerful tool open and available now to be decided. Of course, the bot lane pairing here, should it be Lucian Morgana, isn't inherently the greatest. The cooldown with which that the Black Shield is on doesn't necessarily facilitate the big usage of the new Lucian passive that he was able to pick up, but it still obviously offers something which is far more valuable in terms of not being able to get CC'd. So we're certainly expecting this Morgana to be paired down on that bot side. For FMJ, they picked themselves up this Amumu, who we saw Fluffy Nerd pilot in game number 1, and they've still got an AD carry picked up, meaning that this could be another flex with the Amumu, where the Amumu can still go to Fluffy Nerd once again on the support, or Titanium Lead takes it into the jungle, or we see Bambina pick up the Seraphine for himself in the mid lane.
Yeah, still so many options available for both of these sides. I think that's one of the coolest things about drafts in Season 11 is they do have a lot of this versatility, a lot of this sort of range, and you don't really know what's going to happen until the final picks are locked in. Won't be seeing the True Senpu's Anivia this time around. I think it's safe to say that was one of the strong points for them in the previous game, so it's going to have to dig a little bit deeper into their pool to pull something out.
Yeah, and obviously just getting one target ban at you. The pool maybe not delved right down to the bottom of, we're not going down to the depths here of what we're expecting True Senpu to be able to play. Whips out a Zoe here, and so long as this isn't blind and so long as they have confidence that this is going to be Bambina's Seraphine in the mid lane, I quite like this pickup. Outside of that, though, there is a very real opportunity that we see some form of counterpick here. Syndra really does strike you as one of the leading ones to take out a Zoe. And now a Nocturne locked in here sort of confirms that they're going to have to blind pick themselves, presumably a top laner here, with Nocturne going into the jungle. It sort of allocates everybody as a byproduct of that. But we could be seeing a return to solo lane Nocturne.
It could be solo lane Nocturne with that Kiana locked in, who has received jungle buffs in herself. So I think even though we've seen all the champions, not really too clear on where they're going to be heading as of yet, which means it's a little bit more difficult to lock in this final champion. It's probably going to be a jungler or someone to go into the support role to find out where the Morgana is. And that's a Mordekaiser. Rude, dude.
Someone to go in the jungle role, as you mentioned. I mean, you were perfectly correct. I don't know why you weren't expecting Mordekaiser, honestly. This is a fairly nice pick, honestly. Yeah. Mordekaiser does very well into sort of tank matchups, so I guess Amumu here fits pretty well. If you go for the Conqueror, you tend to be able to sustain the damage that the Conqueror or that the Amumu would be putting down. Now, if it's a Kiana, I don't know that I hold the same merit to that capability here. It looks like Arjit is going to be piloting the top lane Nocturne. I'm going to wait for us to get past the loading screen and into like the delay portion before I stop proclaiming where we're going to see advantages and where everybody has found themselves a lot of advantageous locations. But something that I want to just put out there, out of the gate, is that I love when I was going to go with the copy pasta right there, but I couldn't get through it. That we've got a Zoe. I love Zoe. Zoe's such a cool champion.
She's so quirky.
Yeah, she's so quirky. I was going to try it and I bottled it. I couldn't hold it. I'm sorry.
Enough, Ben. Well, we've got the Mordekaiser here. Obviously, as a CB LoL expert, I think having Mr. Hui on the Rift, that's got to feel great, man.
It really does, honestly. We actually saw a Mordekaiser in our finals in CB LoL this split, nice. Which was, that was kind of crazy, to be honest. The CB LoL special did rear its ugly head, and now we get to see it once again. It's not in the top lane, which is where it is more typically founded, but I think that Mr. Wilder here presumably has a ton of games on this, presumably knows exactly what he's doing, and will be able to find some sort of success. This isn't the type of situation where you go, yeah, Mordekaiser looks good here as the jungler without good levels of practice.
Well, the thing is, he does offer, unique tools in the jungle that I think you maybe don't get as much use of as top lane Mordekaiser. Being able to isolate someone in a 1v1 is very, very powerful. And Mr. Wilder was getting caught out a little bit in the previous game, so maybe this is indexing into that a little bit more. You can't be in a 1v4 if you're sending, two of you guys to Brazil to duke it out.
That's true. Sorry, I just have visions of you saying that he has unique tools as a jungler in terms of ganking, and then him walking into the lane and just generating a 1v1 immediately. And those are some really unique tools for a jungler. Wow, I mean, that's great. The ability to take out your own laner opponent from the advantage, certainly something that not all junglers are very, very well versed at. But obviously, this is the sort of, not the only atypical pick here, honestly. We've still got a Kiana jungle. We've got Arjit playing Nocturne up on the top side. Two picks that for FMJ. Again, going to be going away from the meta. We're going to be relying a little bit more on that comfort. And I'm looking at Kiana in this game, and I'm seeing 2-3 squishy champions on the enemy side that are ripe for the picking. Because Zoe, Lucian, Morgana don't necessarily have the greatest amount of P, or Morgana has got that black shield to prevent the slam into the wall, and does have a little bit of CC to stop Titanium Lead from being able to just absolutely pummel this backline. But if those go wide, if that Dark Binding misses, the time it takes Soul Shackles to find the stun is far longer than the time it takes for Kiana to one-shot you.
And then I think you also have to factor into it that Black Shield only protects one person. It's all right if you're going against a little bit of pick, a little bit of CC, but when you got big encores, you got the Supreme Display of Talent, and you got Enchanted Crystallize, and the Curse of the Sad Mummy, being able to pop a little shield onto someone and go, okay, yeah, do your best. Probably not going to work out too well for you. I feel like there's definitely a scenario where TBD just get wombo comboed in a fight, and the True Senpu and Mr. Fluffy Bunny don't actually have an opportunity to press any of their buttons before they get taken down.
No, that's a very present possibility, and certainly something that they need to be cognizant of going into this game. If they misposition, if they overstep by a single millimeter and FMJ are able to capitalize on it, they're going to be caught out and they're going to be taken down fairly quickly. Something else as well that adds to all of this, adds to that pick potential, is that great, they've got themselves a Morgana on TBD side to stop the CC from coming through. But they've got a mid lane AP Seraphine here, or I'm assuming it's going to be an AP Seraphine. Could well be a support style Seraphine. But if it is that AP variant and we have a little bit more damage coming through, that Black Shield's going to get melted. You'll be able to tank the Encore, but much more? I'm not too sure.
I appreciate the rhyming. That was
Thank
good.
You. You have to try. You have to try.
That was good. No, I respect it. I respect it, man. But you do raise an actually very good point. Not a lot of magic damage on FMJ in general. So, whilst that Black Shield can only go on one person, there's a decent chance that it persists a fair while, unless Bambina is able to start smacking it down from range. We are going to be jumping into game fairly soon, which should be quite nice. Rude Dude, I want to put you a little bit on the spot here. Looking at both of these compositions, is there one that you're favouring right now?
I'm from a Brazilian casting background. I can't not favour the Mordekaiser. Call me biased, call me what you like. I want to see TBD take this to Game 3 off the back of some Hueying real hard.
Yeah, well, we will have to see. A best of 3 is always more fun when you do go to that third game, and I feel like you're blind. You've been blinded a little bit by the glorious majesty of the Mordekaiser. Just looking at it in general, I feel like it's a pretty tough time for TBD to play out a lot of these fights. If FMJ even executes slightly well, it could just start to blow people up.
My sort of concern to this then is the cutting of this Scion. You touched on the fact they don't have a lot of magic damage, and I think that honestly that could come to bite them sort of in the backside a little bit here, because if we're looking at this composition from FMJ, they do have a large portion of physical damage, and they don't necessarily have the greatest tank shred capability. Ash at 3 items can do it, but outside of that, they don't have the greatest amount. And if you're Seraphine, you don't want to be focusing all your magic damage onto the Scion. That's just not where it needs to be going.
Yeah, and if you do pump all that damage into him, then you could suddenly get turned around, and there isn't really much opportunity for you to do anything.
That's exactly it. And if they're not able to, find that level of success, I think that could really, really, really sort of find some definite issues for them.
Right, as I've been having a couple of issues, but they are now resolved. I'm paused on 10 seconds. Are you guys both okay?
I'm ready.
And we are on to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, for Game 2 of this series between FMG and TBD.
Sorry.
You're alright. No, it's all cool. It's all cool. It's all cool, man.
Oh, level 1 though. This is cool. Now I'm going to quickly address that. Where are they going? They're going for a dance party in the mid lane. Now, this is a good level 1 if FMJ are able to find somebody, but if they walk into yourself, they're in a little trouble. They're in a lot of trouble, honestly. That Scion knockup is devastating at level 1.
Yeah, TBD looking to make some stuff going. It's good defensive warding, though, from FMJ. That one ward just below their red buff will spot out this invade so they can respond accordingly. And no sweepers on the side of TBD, so not going to be able to clear that one out. And you'd have to feel that FMJ know that they're still here, so won't overextend or go for this.
So, again, we talked about tempered aggression in the last game, and we didn't see it at all. But this time round, we need to see it right here. I think that Titanium lead, he needs to be careful. Fluffy Nerd is here, but it's going to be a 4v4.
Bandage toss immediately into the bushes. We are getting the brawl at level 1. First blood going over to Bambino as the Fluffy Nerd is ignited and forced down. The true Senpu jumps away over the wall, but it's just a 1-for-1 to get us started. Could be more, though. The Titanium lead is walking very far forward. One more hit would take him out. The Ignite is dropping down, but doesn't take out the Kiana. and that's a crucial snare to prevent Mr. Fluffy Bunny going down. A 1-for-1 right at the start, kills for both mid laners.
So the mid lane then, as you talked about, now going to be a little bit of a pressure point for either one of these teams. We've got Argit, with a little bit of a scrap up on this top side, level 1 Nocturne. Okay, yeah. Cool, I guess. Ignite, ladies and gentlemen. Able to find that kill.
Man, Ignite TP, man.
I'm not too sure what to say. I think that this is actually very bad for yourself because he's pushed... So, well, if it wasn't bad enough that he got solo kill, he just ruined his wave up there.
Yeah. It's not a great scenario. Is going to be forced to TP back. Could look for a kill actually onto Argent, but the fear going down onto the Scion and a couple of auto attacks into his back mean he's not quite able to continue the chase. Titanium Lead is pathing towards this top side. Could look for another kill onto this Scion, and with no TP available, that'd be very, very punishing.
Yeah, one more death here and this top lane would be all but doomed for yourself on this top side. Argit already showing that he knows exactly what he needs to be doing on this Nocturne, and with no decimating smash right here, I'm surprised we don't see Argit get a little bit more aggressive looking for that kill. Fortunately enough, Nocturne has, with his passive, a little bit of wave push in his own right, so yourself a little bit safer up on this top side than he maybe should be right now, and the cannon minion, unfortunately, has passed off to another life without being collected in terms of gold.
Yeah, betrayed Argent right there, but he's currently sat on a kill, so not going to be complaining too much. And it's interesting to actually see this Nocturne because was very prevalent in the meta for a long time this season, but after a couple of nerfs has sort of fallen away both as a jungler and a top laner, but clearly this guy knows what he's doing.
And now we're going to get to see if Mr. Wilder knows what he's doing down on the bot side. Bubble lands.
Oh, immediately back onto 2. Jokery has got no hope of getting out that one. It's another kill for True Senpu. 2-0 on the Zoe at 3.5 minutes. Potential snowball right there.
Oh, that is... You know, that's pretty lethal. That cut-off point with the Zoe bubble. It was Jokery and Fluffy Nerd that both walked back and then realised... One of us has to walk through this. Now, the support, like the Bromy that Fluffy Nerd has proven to be, did indeed tank it, but there was a nice dark binding there from Sowo to catch out Ash regardless.
Sorry, I thought you called him a brony there.
No, a Bromy. A bro and a homie.
A bro and a homie.
Yeah.
Indeed. Fluffy Nerd, well, it was definitely a bro and a homie last game. Looked incredible on the Amumu, has got it this time around. Was able to get that kill early on with the bandage toss into the bush, but hasn't got anything since. It's been a bit more of a fast-paced game this time around. I think they both teams saw how many kills there were in the previous game and might be looking to double that as we're off to a very quick start. Drake is spawning in 10 seconds time. Wasn't prioritized too much by either team early on, but we did start to see those souls coming through. If we get a good one, then would be very nice for either of these teams.
Yeah, we saw obviously the first sort of port of call toward that dragon get called off because one fight went fairly one-sided over toward FMJ, I believe. But now True Senpu, absolutely fine in the mid lane. Never we mind. As we're seeing Wilder once again show that his playstyle from champion to champion doesn't necessarily alter. A lot of ganking so far.
Yeah, but Arj seems more than happy to take the fight. Actually coming out ahead on the health trade and wasting a little bit more of Mr. Wilder's time. We do see the roam starting to come up here. Titanium Lead and Bambina in the area. No ultimate available for Arja, but if he lands the fear onto Mr. Wilder, doesn't have a flash. He could be going down quickly, rooted up by Bambina, as yourself will fall as well. It's a swift Toano in the top lane for FMJ, but the True Senpu is looking to turn it around. Yourself gets a lot of damage there with the passive, but not able to take anyone down, as Soho might be falling in the bot lane. Jokery with a lot of damage. The Ignite not going to be enough to remove the Morgana, but brawling heavily across the map. Nice dodge away from that Dark Binding, as Mr. Fluffy Bunny's in a little bit of a 1v2 right now, but he's doing just fine.
Yeah, this Lucian early game has a ton of base damage. The Piercing Light does, far more than enough to keep Jokery at bay. And nice to see those sidesteps coming through as well. The power of approach velocity there, that you do get yourself a nice boost of movement speed heading toward slowed enemies, and also get a nice little amount of movement speed moving, not necessarily away from them, but residual means that you're able to dodge out on things fairly easily there. And shown Iron Point, and I want to see if that Wit's End build still comes through. Obviously was a nerfed item, But Immortal Shield Bow into that Rage Blade into the Wit's End, certainly a build path that gives Ash even more safety.
Yeah, and I think you really need that when you are fighting up against the Mordekaiser and the Zoe. Obviously, if you do get locked in that Death Realm Centuria de Janeiro, there's not really going to be much that you can do as Jokery anyway. But with the additional survivability, you can buy a little bit more time and hopefully get this Mordekaiser a little bit lower in the fight. Drake's falling down to 1.4k HP. Here come the ultimate combos in. That's a very big charm onto 2. But Fluffy Nerd's in the middle of it all by himself. That's a kill and a Drake going over as Argit, I think he attempted to hold on to someone in the top side?
I have to imagine that it was for the team. Like the team just goes, can you ult for us? Create some distraction, try and do something. Ultimately, it doesn't quite work out for them. A nice secure on that Drake, and with the fear coming through at this stage in the lane, and I say this stage as though it's not just like we've passed level 1, Titanium led in trouble.
Oh, Fool's asleep. Will be falling down. Goes back into the river and taken out. That was a little bit of a misstep, but now yourself goes forward with the unstoppable charge into Argit, brawling up here against the Nocturne, who pops the spell a bit early, but I don't think it's going to matter as yourself is forced to flash back. One more Dustbringer from Argit would take out the Psalm, but it doesn't quite connect. The level up is big, though, a little bit more HP. I think both top laners just going to back away.
It looks like as well, yourself with priority on the wave, he's going to be able to force this one back. Argit doesn't want to recall, doesn't want to miss out on this big wave. He's going to go back in.
Well, that's a big shield from the Soul Furnace there, but the Fear lands just in time, and Argit can pick up the kill and should be able to expedite himself away from those circumstances without falling down. Yeah,
a little misstep right there from yourself. Needs to be just throwing even the slightest decimating smash. Does enough damage to force the Nocturne down. You can see Argit is living on just a slither of health on his own right. And he's getting a little bit of that back from any health from runes and masteries as well. So needs to be able to, or should have been taken down right there yourself with a slight misstep on the play as well. For FMJ though, a fairly strong overall start. The only slight concern is that True Senpu has got 3 kills and no deaths in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern, but the solo laners for FMJ are doing fine enough themselves. Here comes the 1v1 from Mr. Wilder, like we were talking about. The stun against the wall buys Titanium Led a bit more time, but they can't get over the wall. They'll be heading straight to the Death Chamber as the Mordekaiser claims his first kill of the game.
There we go here. The Heart of Brazil comes to strike back. I'm rolling with the cannon now, middle court. I don't care. This is the full, we'll take them to Rio. We'll show them the Samba and they will be punished if they can't perform well enough, and clearly here Titanium Led doesn't quite know how to duel or dance with Mr. Wilder just yet. And on the bot side though, True Senpu maybe getting a little bit antsy to try and find some sort of kills and some form of aggression, but not finding anything down there.
As Argit is continuing to bully up against yourself in the top lane. Do need to start seeing that lead moved around the map because you'd have to imagine that as this San gets a couple more items already sat on that Bramble Vest, the Balmy Cinder not too far away, it becomes very difficult for you to actually pressurize onto him in the 1v1. True Senpu looking for something in the bot side though. The minions doing Jokery a sterling service there and blocking all of the damage.
Yeah, True Senpu hasn't gone back to mid lane yet. He's lost a lot here, but now Argit looking for his own fight on the top side.
Oh, True Senpu might be losing even more as he has to burn the flash to get away. Nice attempt from Titanium Led and Bambina. That's a big summoner spell off the Zoe.
Yeah, it's going to be this AP Seraphine as well, so Bambina will have some sort of kill threat. DT down.
Oh, that's the combo with the CC that we like to see. Soa pops the Soul Shackles, but they won't bite enough time for them. A couple of stuns. The damage will come through, and it's another kill going over to FMJ with a 2-0 on the play.
Well, it was only so long. Welcome to AD Carry, ladies and gentlemen. There are 5 enemy members in your bot lane. What are you going to do? Unfortunately, Fluffy Bunny and Sowo don't have the team-wide presence to be able to respond to that one. And FMJ do a very good job at capitalising here on what is a slight overstay from the TBD bot lane.
Yeah. But important to note that whilst FMJ were getting kills, they could be looking for another one here. No flash available on the Zoe. That's a clean combo. Shut down for Titanium Led as they punish the Burn Summoner spell. Important to note, though, that the Rift Herald did go over to FMJ a couple of minutes ago, so they've head on the objective game, even if they're not necessarily grabbing the kills.
Yeah, and I want to credit here Titanium for that play on the Kiana. It may have just looked like how he pressed his buttons and it worked, but he was weaving auto attacks in, and so many Kianas just push their buttons, expect them to get one shot, and they're missing out on 40% of their damage, which can be the difference between finding the kill and not finding the kill. Every time you swap your elements, you find yourself with an extra bout of passive damage procs. So getting that auto attack in is incredibly important instead of just flying out, pushing down your Qs and getting those resets in that manner.
As we do pop into a slight pause, something going on with Mr. Fluffy Bunny. Hopefully that is resolved soon, but I feel like this pause has actually come in a fairly good place in terms of the game state. We're 12 minutes in, second Drake is 20 seconds away from spawning as the pause is dropped down. It's a bit of an advantage coming through for FMJ, and they're looking to extend it here. Titanium Blade going for a play onto the bot side. Paused a little bit here, but I imagine this is going to be ending in Sood landing the binding, flashing away, and not going down. Predictions locked in. The play will resume in a few seconds' time. And ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, you can see if your predictions were correct. So it pops the black shield. The culling comes out. Doesn't even have to burn the flash. That's a big W, although it could be bigger. Trader Summoners as the binding is flashed away from by Titanium Lead. Feeling pretty good about that one if you're TBD.
I mean, yeah, they get away with, not necessarily Daylight Murder this time round, but they get away with a little bit of an overextension. Flashes as well, they take down Titanium, which means, or don't take down Titanium, they take his flash down, which means that he's now a little more scary.
Oh, that's very scary. 3-man Curse of the Sad Mummy. Mr. Wilder goes down immediately. The Fluffy Nerd has overstepped and will be paying the price with his life. So 1-for-1 so far. The True Senpu diving forward, looking for something as they're comboed with the Enchanted Crystal Owl. It's 2 more kills going over. It's going to be a third in a second time. True Senpu can flash as much as he like. Oh, you're not escaping from that one.
And to add insult to injury as well, Rift Herald doesn't even get its charge. FMJ come up with a 4-for-1 down on the bot side and do a brilliant job at mitigating the engages. They hold true with that poke. The power of Brazil not quite strong enough, and Mr. Wilder doesn't quite find anything as on this top side as well. This could just be more FMJ action.
Yeah, load of damage being dropped down onto V2 yourself already, who's tanking tower because of that Bramble Vest. And we're just kind of diving. Oh, he gets the plate. It's worth.
Worth.
All fine. He gets the plate. It's a W. Good death.
Well done, good sir. He's 0-4 at this point. At some point, he's going to be worth less than a turret plate. So if you keep going for those trades and keep on dying, maybe, just maybe, we can actually be serious when we call it worth. Obviously, when you die, you lose more than just gold. This is time where yourself is not farming, is not getting XP, and is not getting gold, and time where Arjit is doing exactly that, looking to build up that lead even further and pick up FMJ, potentially their second win in a game that looks a lot more convincing.
Oh, we could have a 2v2 in the top lane as TP's coming through from Bambina to join. Arjit is locked in the Death Realm. There goes the paranoia. Mordekaiser not going to be losing that 1v1 though, as he grabs the shutdown. Crucially, the Fluffy Nerd has overstepped once again, but goes back in as Mr. Fluffy Bunny tries to cull him down. So it grabs the kill, and the Lucian is able to flash away without going down himself. It was aggressive play from FMJ. But it gets turned around on them as here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It connects, and there goes an arrow in the back of Mr. Fluffy Bunny. We are having rabbit for dinner.
Taken down in the bot lane. A nice return from FMJ after what was a couple of minutes of unfortunate events for them, honestly. A kill lost in the top side and in the bot side. Now Bambina got able to dodge away from the bubble there. Now as well, so are you dead? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Jokery.
It's not great. A little bit of an overextension. That does mean that Jokery will be able to pick up the second tower of the game. Obviously, V2 yourself was able to pick that one up in the top side, so hashtag worth there. That means that the gold lead is still there for FMJ, but it's not too commanding as of yet.
And I think that there's still this chance that TBD can claw their way back into this one. I think that compositionally, right, as much as I harped onto the power of Mordekaiser, they don't have the same inherent teamfight capability, and they're going to find it out firsthand.
Yeah, that is the sleep landing onto Fluffy Nerd, please, gets away. Mr. Wilder, not so lucky, as that's forced away from True Senpu. Doesn't connect, though, so
I thought it extended.
One kill.
I thought it had gone through.
It was on its way, but the flash came out just in time, I believe. So the True Senpu was able to keep their nice KDA. Does mean, though, that this Rift Herald is started up by FMJ. There isn't really the room to contest for it to be decided.
No, they're going to trade instead on the bot side for their own bot lane tier 1 turret. So a little bit of gold now in exchange for what we imagine to be a little bit of gold later, with that Rift Herald being secured and taken into the inventory of Titanium now. The push in the mid lane has been something that has been apparent and abundant for FMJ pretty much this entire game. And unfortunately, there was a couple of minutes segment where we saw True Senpu dash down to that bot side, and he didn't find anything for it. He sacrificed all mid lane control and all mid lane advantage. And, you know, whilst he is 4-2-0, fairly even in CS, the experience tells a much different story. On average, a level gives you about 500 gold. It becomes a little bit more as you get later and later on into the game, particularly for these mages. So giving over that experience has a lot more ramifications than it may appear at first glance.
Yeah, and 500 gold is the shutdown right now on Bambina. Currently sat 5-0-6 as Joker, he gets a little caught out here. The Dark Binding is a little OP there as the shutdown goes over to Sowo. This could give position around the Drake, which is spawning in a minute's time. Give TBD the opportunity to secure some vision around the objective.
And this is where I wanted to draw a little bit of a question mark around some of the spell choices for Jokery. Now, I can see it from both sides, because against this composition, Cleanse looks very good, but there's one really big factor that's telling you don't take Cleanse. Well, there's actually two. I'm gonna say there's two. Sion has double knockups, for which you cannot Cleanse, and that means that you're pretty much useless when you have Cleanse available against getting CC'd by Sion. But also QSS. Okay, never mind.
That's a lot of damage onto Mr. Wild, who drops into the Death Realm, but will be falling down to himself as Mr. Wilder dies again. So though is going to get popped by the Kianas. Finally, a kill traded back. The Sion joins the fray, but Mr. Fluffy Bunny is leaving in a casket as yourself is in a 1v4, and that's not a good scenario. Forced to flash back as the True Senpu has been caught out with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow into the beat drop, into the bandage toss, and it's another kill going over to FMJ.
Stylish for the Fluffy Nerd as well. Goes to sleep as he flies on through to find the layering of CC that takes down True Senpu. Dragon gonna go over to FMJ as well, picking themselves up their first Infernal here of the game and putting themselves 2-1 in the lead right now. Another strong fight, and now with the kill lead definitely in their favour. FMJ beginning here to find themselves advantages in nearly every metric.
Yeah, and it's just because they're able to set up these fights so consistently. The Seraphine and the Ashe have been crucial for providing these slows, these speed ups that mean that even when TBD are trying to run away, trying to get out of a bad situation, they just can't. TP going to be challenged here in the top lane for Argent, but with that blast clone, yourself is just able to get out.
Unfortunately enough as well, able to prevent himself from being the 0-5 Sion top lane as opposed to the 0-4, as a nice little route comes through from Bambina. You can see, this is what I meant about the Black Shield not really offering you all that much, because one single Q right there did the damage that was able to take out that magic damage shield. So definitely not going to be the greatest tool if Bambina is nearby, but we'll have to wait and see how well that looks to come through.
Ooh, okay.
He missed.
He missed.
It looked cool. Unfortunately, it didn't succeed.
I feel like in those scenarios you can kind of just wait for the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, maybe, but regardless, does mean a siege in the mid lane. The Rift Herald has been spawned, and Shelly will take a charge and take down that inner tower. Titanium Led trying to take down So and Mr. Wilder on the other side. Isn't quite able to do it, though.
Yeah, the Black Shield there, finally providing the value that we knew it was going to be able to here, and a second charge not necessarily even needed here in the mid lane as the turret already fell. Wilder gets rooted.
Ooh, takes a lot of damage as well. Paranoia popped by Argent, but they're not quite in range to die for it. William Led, though, is... There comes the Decimating Smash, cancelled by the Fluffy Nerd with the Curse of the Sad Mummy, as there goes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow onto the Fluffy Bunny, who will just fall down on the backside. True Senpu's dead as well, yourself is dead as well, and this is a much cleaner game from FNJ. The Fluffy Nerd able to get out once again on 100 HP, and this could mean an inhib 21 minutes for FMJ.
A distinctly different look here for FMJ, and a much better one at that. able to find themselves a consecutive fight here in the mid lane and continue to take objective after objective. It started with the Herald doing 2 turrets. It ends with them finding the inhibitor and inhibitor turret themselves here. No Herald needed, just good, solid team fighting. And once again, FMJ with that team fight victory are going to be extending that lead in the game.
Yeah, and there is a question to be asked. I feel like constantly when a mid lane inhibitor is dropped around about this mark, does this just mean that TBD are going to have a load of resources funneled into this Lucian, funneled into this Zoe, who need to get ahead of the curve to start to deal damage?
You know, it's one question that we don't have the answer to yet, because the answer depends on how well FMJ play out this next 5 minutes. If they take the Baron and crack open the base on other sides, then no, with this inhibitor falling is absolutely a-okay, and, you know, Fluffy Bunny may be getting these resources, but Fluffy they're taken to the death realm now. I'm not too sure if this has got the damage.
Yeah, Mr. Wilder, 2 and 6 right now on the Mordekaiser, isn't able to take it down, just baited himself into an overextension of Titanium Lead, grabs another kill. Mr. Fluffy Bunny slowed up a little bit. There goes the Encore, doesn't connect as he Gale forces away, but Soho could be on the wrong side of the fight here. Does a Black Shield in time, which means they take all of their health bar in damage. They can go golden, but it's not going to save you, mate. Jokery picks up the kill, as in goes Arja onto the backside. The flash away, the fear still follows through, and Mr. Fluffy Bunny drops down. Jokery flashes away from True Senpu, but will fall himself. But now, this is just giving mid lane priority over to FMJ. They've got a super minion with them. They could look to end the game, or they could just end yourselves alive. Arjit going forward, does spell shield away the decimating smash, and will pick up the kill onto the San, unless he can flash away in time, and it's an overstep in the base. How many times have we seen that from both of these teams already this season? The True Senpu flashing for one more hit onto Arjit, does take him out, and now they've set their sights on Titanium Lead. But they're just able to get out as the star doesn't quite have the ratio to take him out.
Run! Okay. I made it out. Are we sure? Are we sure he made it out? We don't stop.
He's fine.
Okay, the continual chase down from Mr. Wilder had us a little bit concerned right there, but these kills come at a time where the dragon is about to respawn. Now, Arjit, his TP not quite available for this one. Bambina, however, is already TPing down to the bot side of the pit. Despite the numbers advantage here, you can still see they're looking for fights.
Yeah, Mr. Wilder is getting caught out, pops a death onto the Fluffy Nerd, which does actually buy him enough time to survive with the Conqueror, with the Riftmaker, will take out the Amumu. Okay. TBD now in a great position to take this Drake and deny the soul point away from FMJ. Drowsy lands onto the Seraphine, but goes golden, means Titanium Lead takes all of their health bar. In dives Arjit, does get 1 kill onto Soho. On the backside, yourself is causing a nuisance. Joker and Bambina can't really deal with him, as Mr. Fluffy Bunny is diving so far forward right into Arjit's waiting arms, as he's going to be able to pick him up. V2 yourself is trying to do something on the backside as the True Senpu takes down another one.
Oh, lovely.
The sleepy trouble bubble guarantees another kill for this Zoe. And the Drake going over to TBD in the last couple of minutes. They have really turned on the burners. It might not be over yet. True Senpu does have the flash, but he doesn't know Titanium Lead's there.
Oh my word.
This here, Titanium Lead catches out onto True Senpu, but lands the Drowsy time, misses the trouble bubble, and that means the shutdown goes over. Oh, it was so close.
Holy moly, the heroic efforts from True Senpu, picking up kill after kill right there to shut down Jokery, shut down Arjit, doing all the hard work here in the team fights, but just barely not quite able to make that play happen in the end. It's a good pickup for Titanium, who's able to keep his bounty as well. Now looking 600 gold on top of his head if anybody's able to claim that one. But the Drakes are still dead even here, Middlecott. The mid lane inhibitor has been down, that farm has been funneled, and now that gold lead has significantly decreased.
Yeah, there was no Baron picked up, instead objectives going the other way, so you definitely have to say that ended up benefiting TBD in the long run. But as it stands, that Inhib will be respawning fairly soon, and the Baron is going to become something both teams are looking a little bit further towards. So caught out here, does pop the Black Shield, but not quite in time to stop Titanium Leg grabbing another kill. Dodges away from V2 yourself as the Fluffy Note goes in again. Enchanted Crystal Arrow connects onto the Lucian, who falls down. The 3-man encore goes through the team, but here comes True Senpu, looking to do some damage with the Paddle Stars as Mr. Wilder picks up a kill. There goes the Amumu. Jokery now has to kite themselves away, gets pulled back, and can't do anything. All of a sudden, TBD find the fight, but they can't quite take the Baron just yet.
And we have to wonder, Arja has TP, has his ult, why is he not helping?
He wants to get this bot lane inhibitor as Bambina just wants to get out of here. The Decimate onto her head as it's a shutdown going over to Mr. Wilder. Now I feel that the Baron all of a sudden becomes a much more realistic possibility if you're TBD, but they're just going to back away. They do not want to take the risk.
Wisely or unwisely, Baron is one of the biggest places to go and throw at, so I'm not disappointed in them for this one here. They do end up getting a load of kills here, and they pretty much neutralize the game state right now. They're going to be able to maybe take down this mid-tier 1 turret as well. But Wilder's known for his overstays, honestly, in this series, and going for this mid-tier 1 could be just another one of those.
Yeah, it does end up grabbing it, but will pay for it with his life. Now, what can FMJ get with that player? Looks like they are going to be grabbing the Baron, and TBD not really in the best position to contest this.
Isolated, you say kill for turret, maybe that's worth, particularly with the mid lane tier 1, but you say kill for turret on the kill on the jungler at 27 minutes. That's a very different story here. Those different variables are adding up, and they are going to give this Baron over freely now to FMJ after all the hard work that TBD had done to claw their way back into this one. They give up the Baron after one single kill, and now FMJ are right back in that driver's seat.
Yeah, we have to see if Soa could get the Black Shield, but not quite in time. They do pop it now, but it's already been taken out, and that means they've got no way of dealing with the continued CC. The True Senpu going forward, though, buying a little bit of time, but they got jumped on themselves. There goes the ultimate, as yourself is brawling up against Arja in the bot lane, looking for this inner tower. And I think he might just get it, as the backdoor bandits hasn't been activated. Titanium Lead does grab a kill in the mid lane onto Soa as the Scion ultimates himself away. There goes the Amumu as the flash over the wall might just be enough to buy him some time. Looks like it will be. Mr. Fluffy Buddy taken very low, though, and if Wilder walks further forward, could get caught out, gets the 1v1 onto Bambina, but they're just kiting him out as much as they can. Dodge so much damage with the Zhonya's there, and with Jokery in the area, they could look to turn this around. One more hit would take out the Seraphine, but it's not going to come through as Titanium Lead is looking titanium dead as they fall asleep, but will be sleeping with the fishes as Mr. Fluffy Bunny gets another kill. It's chaos all across the map, but you have to feel that favors TBD.
Once again, jungle trades, and it's the timing of all of these kills that are important. With Baron off the board, you're just dead here. You don't live.
Oh no, but the Immortal Shilbo comes in clutch and means they can turn it around! Oh my god, Jokery knows their health bar, knows their damage, and picks up the kill.
I was so wrong right there. Immortal Shield Bow, Wit's End are more than enough to get him out to safety, and a beautiful flash at the last second dodges out on the final paddle star, the martyrdom that was trying to attempt by True Senpu. Now all of these kills have come through at a time when Baron was available for FMJ. They've been wasting their Baron time just battling in the jungle for no reason, but they do have priority around this dragon with 5 versus 4 on the map. Whilst this Drake has spawned, you imagine they should be able to pick up this one, and not just that, it's a 5v4 where their biggest power point of the enemy team is off the map.
Yeah, but they've taken a good while in actually getting towards this Drake. They didn't want to start it up too early, just looking for this bush bait, and it's an absolute disgusting wombo combo. 3 kills picked up for FMJ in the blink of an eye.
Mwah! Chef's kiss. The team composition has fulfilled its destiny here. This was the exact thing we talked about in draft, about this composition being able to pull off And finally, we see it come to fruition. That was a 2 versus 3 right there. Bambino, with all of these AP ratios, has been able to find enough damage to take down the squishy bot lane of TBD, and also Mr. Wilder falling off the back end of that as well. No matter the trouble bubble, they're able to still walk their way in and reclaim a mid lane inhibitor. Of course, Baron has been pretty much done with now. That is going to tick down in the next couple of seconds, but they've still got 3 members positive in terms of numbers as they look to take this top tier 2 as well.
Yeah, but they need to make sure that they're not going for any oversteps. 5 members of TBD back on the Rift. So FMJ wisely just backing away, but it doesn't look like Yourself wants to deal with that. Argent diving onto the back line as the ultimate hits onto 3 people again. They didn't want to go for the fight, but they will take it nonetheless. Mr. Wilder drops as well, as Yourself will fall down as well. Argent does fall on the backside, but with the Enchanted Crystal Owl coming out, connecting onto the Lucian, it's a triple kill for Titanium Lead. The substitute coming in, carrying their team all the way to game 3.
Holy moly, it's a truly ambitious effort from TBD to go for that fight, but it's FMJ who come out on top. Another brilliant fight that manages to net them here what should be the series if they can close out these Nexus turrets. Morgana spawns in a second, but I don't think that's enough.
Oh, really? Really? You're just not going to explode again?
Well, hey guys, I guess we know who won.
Big performance by FMJ. Absolutely disgusting. Does grab them the 2-0 in this series. My apologies. And I do believe we are actually going to be having an interview with one of the members of FMJ, their support, the Amumu god himself, the Fluffy Nerd. We should be getting him in here any second.
Yeah, well, welcome, Fluffy Nerd. Congratulations first off on the 2-0.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a really big performance from you guys. I just want to come out right at the start and say the Amumu is something that we haven't really seen in the support role ever. Now that these buffs have come through and it is a lot more viable, is it something that you were really quick to pick up, or is this something that was maybe a little bit less practiced?
He's literally the only jungler I can play because he's really stupid easy. So it was kind of like, oh, he's the 3rd best win rate in support, so it's just kind of free when you get to pick him like that whenever. And a lot of teams don't seem to be picking him. And like into things like Morgana, where it's supposed to be like an engage support counter pick, she can't do much because you just AoE people anyway.
Yeah, and it proved very valuable here, I think is the easiest way of putting it. Multiple games we saw you find lots of success. I want to talk to you about game number 1, though, because that was an absolute barn burner from start to finish. We were sat here for 45 minutes, looking over throws, picks up, catches, whatever you want to call them. What were the comms like in that hectic game?
It was just, I think we had most of the control around objectives, and that was kind of it. We were focused on making sure that we were first to at least for the Dragons. The Barons was a bit of a different story because it kind of was drawn out fights, and the Elder as well. But making sure we were like first to the Drakes, and then, you know, when it gets to like 45 minutes into the game, you just have to keep looking for picks and like all-ins to get that advantage, which, you know, a couple times was against us. I think we got the Camille before Elder, and then she got the TP in and clean up. And then in other times it let us like take the Baron or take objectives. So
yeah, and then so coming sort of into this game 2 from that game 1, this felt like a very different story. Whilst it was still a 30-minute plus game, you guys seemed a lot more capable to take some sort of like early advantages and then actually run with them. What sort of communication did you have after that first game coming into game 2 to sort of get you prepped and to win a bit more convincingly?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I kind of just laughed. It's an FMJ special that game 1 is a big fiesta. We try to do warm-up games to avoid that. It stopped helping recently. So it's kind of just, we YOLO the first game. If we win it, you just have to laugh it off and move on. If you lose it, you laugh it off and move on. Like,
It's
not much
good
else
to
to do.
It's good to see that you've got the positive mentality at the very least here, and that puts you guys at 3-0 now in Division 3. What are the goals and aspirations for the squad going into the rest of the season and definitely playoffs?
I mean, when you're 3-0, it's to win it all, isn't it? There's not much else to say.
Okay, yeah, well, fair enough.
That's the goal.
That's fair enough. And then coming in, just one last sort of change that you guys did do from game 1 to game 2. It was the sub out on Gank by Dad with Titanium Lead coming in and honestly sort of carrying that game. Was that motivated by anything specific in game 1, or did like they just have to go for dinner or something?
Oh no, it's Titanium or Alex is like our starting jungler. He was just not able to make game 1, so we just put Ganked in.
Oh, okay.
So he's back for game 2.
Well, it's good to see that your flexibility between junglers doesn't tarnish your ability to win games, albeit one game slightly less clean than the other. I think finally, what do you have to say to the FMJ fans of the world? Any closing words for you before we send it off?
If you keep supporting us, it'll just be as many fiestas. So if you like that, come watch.
Yeah, I definitely sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Fluffy Nerd, for joining us for this post-series interview. Go off and celebrate. I don't know how you celebrate. Have a good one, man. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, Rudy, that was an interesting series, not going to lie. I thought we were headed for like the full games after that game 1, but FMJ were really able to turn on the burners in that game 2.
Yeah, they certainly showcased what the power of a full starting roster can look like. No disrespect to Ganked by Dad, but Titanium certainly came in and showcased, be it his proficiency in the jungle or just that synergy with the team, more so than anything else, to be able to give them a much cleaner victory in that second game.
Yeah, and it was a very strong performance from them. I think TBD fought a little bit harder than maybe we expected them to, especially in that game 1. But it did feel like as the series started to go on a little bit further, that fatigue started to play into their minds a little bit, and they weren't making as many clean calls as they necessarily were first time around.
No, and I think that a 2-0 here, maybe not representative of quite how close the series had been at certain points. The fact that game 1, right, we talked about it in the draft for game 2, that they'd lost an Elder, or rather that TBD had got an Elder, got a Baron, and still weren't quite able to close it out, does go to show that they definitely had FMJ on the ropes for a little bit here, albeit that they didn't end up winning the game.
Yeah, but it... to the victor, the spoils in the end, FMJ with that 2-0. Going to put them up to 3-0 in the standings. And I think like they said, looking towards the playoffs, potentially looking to win it all. But that is going to be doing it for us today. Thank you, first of all, to my co-commentator, Rude Dude. I haven't casted with you in a hot minute, and it has been very, very enjoyable. British Blaze as well for doing the organisation, doing the producing as well. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Commiserations to be decided. It was hard fought from you guys, but you weren't able to pull out the victory in the end. And a massive congratulations to Full Mental Jacket on winning the series. Thank you everyone for watching. My name has been Middlecott. We will see you on the next one.